The views expressed on the following broadcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting or its affiliates. The dialogue on this show should not be considered as medical, psychiatric, or professional advice and is delivered only as personal opinions from the host, co-host, and guest. KHLT Recovery Broadcasting is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
Daddy used to get real mean for no reason at all. Every time he'd swear and shout, I'd have no one to call. So I learned to sing, I learned to dance. Every time he'd get to me, I learned to laugh, I learned to smile. I am stronger than old memories.
And now, here's your host, Eve D. and the Monty Man.
All the kids
Well, greetings one and all. Welcome aboard to the Good Ship Recovery here at TakeFullRadio.com on your internet dial. It's good to have you with us. Eve is here, and we've got two other folks here, fine, strapping young men. We have Jay. What's your last initial, Jay?
Yes. Good morning, Monty.
Jay. Okay. Jay. And Nathan is here. Nathan is Nathan's a jerk.
What?
No, I'm kidding. I couldn't think of the other word I was going to use. A friend. That was it. Friend.
There you go.
No, Nathan and I go back a lot of years. In fact, I remember Nathan's very first 12-step meeting. And he was like a combination of Kid Rock, Eminem, and a major drug addict. Yeah, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, he was sitting in the back of the room, you know, going, and he talks about this, you know, and I could beat him up, and she's pretty cute, and that guy needs to be slapped, and right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Rough and wild, man.
Well, Nathan actually has a little bit of a talent, too. We were talking off the air about Jay having kind of a radio voice. So, Jay, say, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
See, we can work with that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we can work with that. Yeah, he's got that bassy kind of
He
sound.
does.
Well, listen to this. This is I'm just going to play a little tiny piece of this. This is something that Nathan put together. We put together for the Sober Portland radio show. This is Nathan.
And now, broadcasting on location somewhere in the vast expanse of the Pacific Northwest for the Sober Portland radio show, it's the over-opinionated 12-stepologist, the Monty Man.
And there you go.
You nailed it.
That guy is good, man.
Yeah.
I like the over-opinionated.
That wasn't the
fits pretty
point.
well.
It was supposed to be Nathan, but you
That
guys are going
fits
to
pretty
camp out
well.
on that. Yeah.
He called me a jerk. Let's just pull that one out, buddy.
Let's pull that one out. You bet. So anyway, welcome you guys.
Thanks for having us, buddy.
Yeah, thank you for stepping up to the plate today and helping us co-host this thing. And we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff today. And I'm going to be doing this every week. The Monty Man's Recovery Poll is going up on Facebook and some of the Facebook groups that the station belongs to. And this week, starting this poll out, it was, what do you think of the philosophy of one day at a time? Do you think that we develop our sobriety, work on our sobriety, stay sober, whatever, one day at a time, or should we be done for good and for all? Should we be should we have an attitude of that we're done forever, or do we just focus on today, or can it be both? And so we're going to be talking about that, and then we're going to be talking about some new stuff that's out in the world of narcotics and alcohol, not to promote it, but just to make you aware, especially parents. There's some new stuff coming down the pike, once again, that is killing people. And this time, the alcohol industry is promoting it. and encouraging the use of it. So we're going to be checking that out here in a minute. So let's hear from. We're not going to go to any commercial breaks later on in the show, so we're going to get these out of the way right now. Don't go away.
I learned to sing. I learned to dance. Every time they get to me.
In the time it takes to pour your morning coffee, a child is abused. In the time it takes for you to tie your shoes, a child is intentionally injured. In the time it takes to lock your door, a child is neglected. In the time it takes for you to turn on the evening news, a child is forgotten. And in the time it takes for you to get from morning coffee to evening news, 4 of those children have died. Don't wait. Take action. If you know of or even suspect child abuse, please call 1-800-422-4453. That's 1-800-4-A-CHILD. Or go to www.childhelp.org. Counselors are available 24/7. All calls are confidential. Bring hope. Bring an end to child abuse. This message brought to you by the Foundation for the Prevention and Treatment of Child Abuse.
Hey, this is the Monty Man at Take 12 Recovery Radio. You know, for way too long, the faith community and church leadership has had a misunderstanding of what addiction and recovery is really all about. Well, it's time we clear up some issues. Recovery Life presents Understanding Addiction and Recovery, an informational workshop focused on educating the faith community, clergy, lay people, and church leadership on the problem and solution of alcoholism and addiction. Friday nights, 7 to 9 p.m., beginning May 2nd and every Friday in May at Oak Creek Christian Center, 5775 Columbus Street Southeast, Albany, Oregon. Gender-specific recovery life groups and support meetings for friends and families will form during the workshops. For more information, visit recoverylife.org. Recovery Life, a community outreach for the Willamette Valley in cooperation with Oak Creek Christian Center. All right, and Nathan, have you ever met Cecil?
No.
But you listened to some of the shows. You've heard Cecil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, I think Cecil, good day to you, Cecil. Are you there?
Yes. Well, good day to you too, Monty Man. And who do we have here joining us this fine day?
Well, we have Jay and we have Nathan. I kind of warned you about Nathan. I didn't tell you. I didn't know Jay was coming, but Nathan, say hi to Cecil.
Hi, Cecil. How you doing?
Well, hello, Nathan. Well, aren't you just a fine, strapping young man? My goodness. But didn't I see you on an episode of America's Most Wanted?
Oh, man. Look at Monty go.
Hey, it's not. It ain't me, brother. Cecil's got kind of a mind of his own. Did you ever see him on America's Most Wanted, Jay?
No, I haven't.
Well, you haven't been watching very long.
No, I haven't.
Oh, man.
Nathan. The real question is, are you ready to play Take 12 Trivia with Eve and the Monty Man?
Are you?
Absolutely.
Are you ready to play this, Jay? We're going to play a little
Bring
trivia,
it.
Why not?
trivia game. Okay. All righty.
Well, here we go, Nathan.
It's time once again for Take 12 Trivia. The one hated game, the most hated game on the in the universe. Okay. All right, now that Cecil's back in his box, or her box, or whatever it is. Okay, in continuing with absolutely useless trivia, here's trivia question number 1. You get three questions and a bonus. If you win, well, that's nice. Okay, question number 1. If you keep a goldfish in a dark room long enough, it eventually will do what? Here are your choices. I'm getting that buzz again. Why am I getting that? Okay. Here are your choices. If you keep a goldfish in a dark room long enough, it will become depressed and die. That's A. B, turn a different color. C, pick on the other fish in the tank. Or D, swallow rocks it would normally just spit out. You know, goldfish will eat lick the rocks and then spit them out. So what do you think?
I think B, that they'll change color.
You think they'll change color? Jay, what do you think?
I kind of like the rock spitting.
You like the rock spitting? They'll spit out the rocks. Nate?
I'm going to go with even the color change.
Even the color change? Well, Eve and Nathan are actually correct. They will turn white.
Oh, my.
They will turn white, without light. So in honor of Nathan and Jay being here, because they're construction workers, our sound effects this week are power tools.
Relentless, man. That's a setup.
Okay, trivia question number 2. Pinocchio. Pinocchio is an Italian word for, and here are your choices. A, young boy. B, a lying tongue. C, pine face. Or D, hard head.
A little boy.
Little boy? Nathan?
Man, she's full of logic, because I'm agreeing.
Little boy? Okay, Jay, what do you think?
That does sound logical.
Get up and
Sorry
like,
about that.
That's right.
It does sound logical that.
A young boy?
Yeah, a young boy.
It's actually pine face or pine head.
Oh, God.
Really?
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. What was
Sawzall. That was a sawzall.
Hey, reciprocating.
Yeah, very,
job.
very good. Very good. Okay. Trivia question number 3. The placement of a donkey's eyes in its head. When I put this together, I'm not cracking up like this. And I read it, I think, what? A placement of a donkey's eyes in its head enables it to do what? Here are your choices. A, use each eye as a kind of homing device to find its way home. Excuse me. B, look up with one eye and down with the other. C, see all 4 feet at the same time. Or D, they do nothing special, they're just very far apart.
What was the category of this trivia?
The placement of donkeys' eyes in their heads enables them to do what?
Oh, my.
Use each eye as a kind of homing device, look one eye up and one eye down, see all 4 feet at the same time, or they just really don't do anything special, they're just far apart.
They don't do anything special.
They don't do
They're
anything
just far
special?
apart.
I'm going to say a homing device.
Jay, what do you think?
That's not fair. She takes all my answers.
So you're going to go home with homing device too?
Yeah.
Well,
she's a smart one.
She's on it.
If you follow her, you look good. I've been trying
I don't
that.
think so. I'm terrible at trivia.
well, actually, you're all wrong.
See?
See all 4 feet.
It's see all 4 feet.
Oh, good grief.
Absolutely. What was that, Jay?
I'm not sure. It kind of
Do it
sounded like a
again.
table saw.
Do it again. It sounded like a humpback whale to me.
that was an electric screwdriver.
Oh.
Specifically Black and Decker. Okay. Here's your bonus question. And if you get this right, that's nice. Out of the 4 most popular colors of toothbrushes, which do teenage boys use the most? Here are your choices. A, red. B, blue. C, fluorescent pink. Or D, yellow.
I'm going to go with blue. Sorry, Eve. I just had to check.
You had a bright idea over there.
What do you think, Nate? Oop. Red, blue, fluorescent pink, or yellow? Which do teenage boys use the most?
Fluorescent pink.
I'm going to say red.
Well, Nathan's correct. It is fluorescent pink.
Strategy.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. Let's see what we got.
Strategy.
Circular saw.
And
Yeah.
that does it for this week's Take 12 trivia.
Wow.
Yes. Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay. Let's see here. We have Oh! I need to tell you the cartoon caption contest next week. You have one more week to put in your entries. So go to Recovery Cartoons at Take12Radio.com. There you'll find a cartoon with no caption. Make up a caption, type it in, send it to us, and you could be a winner. And what you will win, if we choose your caption, is the live DVD by recovery comedian Mark Lundholm called Addiction, a Comedy of Substance. And you'll also get a bonus CD called How Is That Funny? By Mark Lundholm as well. So enter for fun and for free. And we have, because Jay and Nathan have been so kind to come today, for Jay, we actually have a copy of that DVD called Addiction, a Comedy of Substance. You have a DVD player, Jay, or a computer?
I do.
Okay, so you'll like that. And for Nathan, we have Jeff Bates' One Day Closer, actually signed by Jeff Bates, specifically for Nathan. And so there you go, buddy.
Thank you, my friend.
Okay, and I got your DVD in the other room, so we'll get that to you before you leave. So congratulations. Thanks, guys, for coming in. Okay. So I'm bebopping along the Facebook thing, and Jamie Marich, Dr. Jamie Marich, she's the one that opened our show today with the song from her CD, Grace of a Woman, called Stronger Than Old Memories, and about how she used her music to get through trauma, and from a dad who in the song is abusive, to growing up being picked on in school, to losing a best friend. All she had was her music, and so that's how she used it as really a way to heal. And Jamie, she's an amazing person. She is the author of Trauma and the 12 Steps. Her, along with Dan Griffin, have really done a bang-up job at investigating trauma and how it is part of the addict and alcoholic's life. Not everybody that has suffered trauma is an addict or an alcoholic, but you'd be hard-pressed to find an addict or alcoholic who hasn't experienced trauma of some form or another. And so this is the work she does. Now, she has also done a thing that I just think is marvelous. And I got to find it here. We're going to be giving away something that she has done. Where'd it go? Jamie also, how do I say it? Injects or includes dance into the healing process of people that have experienced trauma. And I'm trying to find my notes. I had everything, best laid plans, right? Where did they go? Where are you, Jamie? Here we are. Okay. The term is mindfulness. It literally means noticing without judgment. And it actually comes from a Buddhist practice, from a form of yoga and meditation. And in this case, she's using this noticing without judgment in the form of dance and being just who you are. And whether you're a large person that may be intimidated by dancing, right? Or a very skinny person, or a very shy person, or a very forward person that dance. There's something about it. There's something about the music, something about just kind of relaxing and moving and so forth. Well, she has a DVD out that is all about that. And it's a $30 value, and she is donating that to the 5th email that we get from this show. So listen, if you think that because you're listening to this show on Friday instead of Wednesday, because it's up all week, that you don't have a chance to win it, you may be wrong. Because it's amazing the people that won't email, and you might be the 5th email, and it has a timestamp, so we know who it is. So we're giving that away courtesy of Jamie Marich, Dr. Jamie Marich. Now, her website is jamiemarich.com. You can follow the links on our website. Mindfulness is a practice that, by its very meaning, can teach newly recovering individuals how to navigate the ups and downs of learning to live in the now. And so she wrote an article that we're gonna read here in a minute, but that inspired this whole topic of this one day at a time thing. And man, this is an annoying.
There's a buzz going on there.
annoying buzz. Touch your microphone again. Okay, now move it a little bit. There we go. It's gone. Yay! Cool. All right. Sorry, listeners. All right. So I asked the question. What do you guys think of the philosophy of one day at a time when it comes to your recovery, when it comes to sobriety, or working on your program and that kind of thing? And I got some interesting comments. I'm just going to read some of them. Kelly J says, I think you commit for good and for all, but you work it one day at a time. And that was my question. Do we do this recovery thing one day at a time, or do we need to be done with alcohol and narcotics for good and for all? Michael G says, it's one day at a time for this alcoholic. When I think I'm done for good, I'm running the show and playing God, and that's dangerous ground for this guy. I must be a maximum service to others and my higher power, and that can only be achieved one day at a time, in my opinion. Bob S. says, I'll never forget my first meeting. They told me if I was an alcoholic, I could never safely pick up a drink again. I told them this would not work for me because I could not go for a week without a drink, let alone the rest of my life. A man named Jerry told me, Bob, don't worry about the rest of your life. Just get through this day without picking up a drink, and tomorrow you'll do the same thing that you did today. This is a one day at a time program, according to Bob S., not the rest of your life program. They also told me to get a big book and follow the program in that book, and I wouldn't have to drink again 21 years later. They were right. Thank you, Jerry, for saving my life. It's interesting he says that because the big book actually does allude to the fact that this is a rest of your life program. And yet, so there can be some confusion there. Mm-hmm. Marco R. says, for myself, basically, like Kelly said, good and for all, one day at a time. I guess to paraphrase the big book, that we had to concede to our innermost selves, and also to paraphrase a line on page 33, there can be no lurking notion that someday we will be immune to alcohol. In other words, we can never fool ourselves into thinking that we can ever drink again. That is what I feel. Latricia S. says both. One day at a time and good and for all. Vincent W. says, what kind of hope is one day at a time? That's how I used to live. Interesting statement. I want to be clean and sober for the rest of my life. I don't look at this as one day at a time. Yesterday I did everything that I was supposed to do the way it was shown to me, so I know today will be great no matter what happens. Patsy from Australia says, I am sober for life and clean for life. I do not like the feeling of loss of mind or control over my words, actions, or anything else. I stay clean and sober for life. Joe T. says, done, once and for all. And then he says this is interesting. I got drunk after 20 years of sobriety, sober again after 5 years, once and for all, thank you, Jesus. And then Jamie, Dr. Jamie Merritt says, I love it as a goal, but just throwing it at people as a magic slogan cure without teaching them how to live one day at a time is not optimal. What a great poll. Thanks for the inspiring thought. So we have some differing views here and opinions. And let me interject this, and then I'll let you guys kind of talk about it. Whether you agree with, and I say this all the time, whether you agree with the mothership, the program, the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, or you disagree, you cannot argue that it says what it says. It does say what it says. Then you can choose whether you want to agree or not. But this is what it says. Dr. Bob, one of our co-founders, said, if you think you are an atheist, an agnostic, a skeptic, or have any other form of spiritual pride which keeps you from accepting what is in this book, so he's preparing to tell you what's in the book, okay, I feel sorry for you. If you still think you are strong enough to beat the game alone, that is your affair. But if you are really ready and truly want to quit drinking for good and for all, and sincerely feel that you must have some help, we know that we have an answer for you. And there's other places in the Big Book that suggest that we need to be determined that we're done. We're done. So what do you guys think? And how have you guys approached this? So who wants to start?
I'll start. I think it's both. I think that the attitude is that there must not be any reservation in your mind. But really, I mean, we've talked about this in past shows, that when we make the approach, we ask somebody, are you done? And are you willing to go to any length? And that's kind of the measuring stick right there at the very beginning. And you're kind of running on that person's desperation right there. They want to be done. And from that point, you launch into teaching them about the hopelessness.
Right.
You are going to drink or you are going to use again without some sort of spiritual intervention here.
Right.
And so, there's that, you just ride that desperation for so long, but it can get lost along the way. But when I say both, I'm referring to where it says what we really have is a daily reprieve, contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. So how we work this is one day at a time, and that does not conflict with Scripture where Jesus says, do not worry about tomorrow. Today has enough trouble of its own. So really, that idea that we keep our thoughts on just for today, I see how that's a benefit for people. A lot of people that are suffering from addiction either live in the past or in the future, and so they're not mindful of today. And I like that you talked about mindfulness at the beginning. I'm familiar with that, and it's very important. So yeah, living in the moment when we get up, and that's when we're working the steps. We are putting some of those principles into action.
Yeah.
We're asking God to direct our day, and then we continually are mindful of Him throughout the day. And at the end of the day, we do that little inventory, and with God involved with that process as well. So that's
Nathan?
my take.
Yeah, I think she hit on a few points. I mean, I believe that it's important for me to swallow that I'm done with that crap and be true. But the practice and the footwork and everything I've been taught is in a daily ritual, and I get the daily reprieve. I get up in the morning, I say please, and I make it through the day, and I do some things day by day, and then I say thank you at night, and then I'm most of my aspects that I apply in my program, and just the serenity part, because that's my problem. My first sponsor used to tell me, keep it simple, stupid. He'd tell me that all the time. and for me, the day at a time, the practice and the footwork, if I am able to do what's in front of me and do the next right thing and give the rest to God, I have more serenity. So almost everything that I practice have been taught is in what I can control, which is hardly nothing. And the rest I learned to give away, So, I agree that it's important to be certain, like, dude, I'm done. But I think there's a daily practice and a daily footwork that this that this program's kind of circled around, the giving it, doing what's in front of you, the daily reprieve. I mean, it just almost, you can look at a lot of areas how that applies on what's worked for me. So
let's bookmark that in our heads for a minute. The word footwork. Okay, let's hold on to that for a minute. Jay, let me ask you. Get up to the microphone real close. So that microphone's kind of weak. Let me ask you, when you first started doing this stuff, were you ever told this is a one day at a time thing?
Oh, of course.
Did that help you?
I didn't quite have the concept at the time. I'm still very new to recovery.
Yeah.
And frankly, I've got a question of my own.
Yeah, you bet, man.
How do you know when you're done? What is the mindset? What point do you know that you've crossed that line to where I'm done? There is no more. I mean, for me, every day is a difficult journey. And it's really hard for me to do it any other way than one day at a time, one moment at a time, because sometimes on a dime I can switch and I'm dangerous to myself.
Interesting.
So I'm very, very cautious at what I do, where I go, who I'm talking with. So one day at a time is probably the best thing for me.
Sweet.
And you've been in the fellowship, in your 12-step fellowship, and starting to to crack open some of the work, and you and I are going to talk about that later. But
Right.
But for how long now? A few months?
I've just barely been scratching some surfaces,
Right.
just visiting AAs, and I had gone to NAs, and it's really, I don't know, you got to pick and choose where you want to go.
You kind of got to find your home. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something, buddy. For somebody that's fresh in the program and fellowship, that's very well said.
Yes, I agree, and I was actually thinking of talking about that because in the beginning, I want to cross-reference that to actually something else that we're going to be talking about, and that is trauma, right?
Yep.
We're going to bring up this thing of trauma. So in the beginning, just taking little sections of a time and saying, just for right now, I'm not going to pick up. That is about the best we can do in the beginning. That was right on. Now, this thing about trauma, and this is something that I've studied, and that
You have the workbook, right? Did I loan you
yes,
Jamie's workbook?
yes, you did. But
Yeah.
I've learned about it from an academic perspective, as well as being a sufferer myself.
Right.
So there's a thing attached with trauma we call PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and the reason why mindfulness is so important is because when we're triggered in some way to that past trauma, we're not reacting in our adult or in our present state of mind. We're triggered back to that event. So whatever age you were at that trauma, you can't apply some of the things that we know in recovery. That's why I think there's so much problem with relapse, is because we don't have the recollection. We don't even, let's say that I'm triggered to a trauma of when I was a young child, 4 or 5. How am I going to apply what I've learned in Alcoholics Anonymous or any other 12-step program? I don't even connect with God at that point. I'm running on, the basic things of fear, flight, freeze. Those are the things that happen with PTSD, and that's why this is such an important topic related to addiction. I think it's paramount, and it's
giving me goosebumps here because I swear you read Jamie's article.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just
This
knowing
is
it
wonderful.
firsthand. Yeah. And I know that I know that has to do with my relapses. And it's still a concern for me. And it's still a concern for me because I'll tell you why. PTSD is one of the hardest things to recover from. I don't believe it's impossible because Jesus is bigger than that, but it is still a concern.
Yeah.
It is a concern.
Well, this is a great segue into this article
Nice.
that spurred this whole thing on for me. And Jamie, Dr. Jamie Marich has sent me this, and she said, would you be interested in posting this on your Facebook and so forth? And I did, and this is what it said. Now, we don't have time for me to read the whole thing, especially the thing on mindfulness, but that's one of the reasons why we're giving away this DVD. And I just want to tell folks, once again, the website is Jamie Marich, JamieMarich.com. You can go to the links on our website to check it out. But listen to what she says about this one day at a time thing. And then we're going to talk about the brain a little bit here. So just kind of hang in there with us. It gets a little technical. It says, one day at a time, ? One day at a time is a slogan of recovery. It's with folks in the 12-step path. Those who enter 12-step treatment or meeting culture are likely to hear it at their first exposure. Jay, you heard this, right?
Right.
Yeah. And even people outside the 12-step sphere are familiar with the term, one day at a time. Movies such as 28 Days, where Sandra Bullock's recovering character Gwen protests. What she says is, what? Like 2 or 3 days at a time is an option? And other pop culture references have made one day at a time more than just a 12-step phenomenon. As a counselor and a recovering woman, I do not challenge the relevance of now-centered living and staying in today. My concern involves the irresponsibility of throwing this slogan at newly recovering people as an instant solution without helping them learn how to live one day at a time. Dr. Jamie Marich, author of Trauma in the 12 Steps, explains why living one day at a time poses a particular challenge for newly sober people especially those who are also struggling with unhealed trauma. And let me explain this. For survivors of trauma, what happened 10, 20, or 50 years ago can quite literally seem like today. And you alluded to that, Eve. When newly recovering individuals allude to being stuck in their past, experiencing it like it's still happening, it is not just a matter of the disease talking. Are such people making excuses? A simple understanding of how unprocessed traumatic memories affect the brain shows us how a wounded person's past can still very much be in their present. Trauma, which comes from the Greek word meaning wound, is not just diagnosable post-traumatic stress disorder. Rather, it is any physically, spiritually, sexually, or emotionally wounding experience that requires processing at the level of the brain. When traumas are not processed, it is like depriving a physical wound of the proper care it needs to heal fully. Yes, some wounds might clear up on their own, but many will leave lasting complications. So it's not limited just to PTSD, although that is a huge piece. The limbic brain, also known as the midbrain, is the central processing unit for learning and emotional response. The limbic brain contains the instinctive flight or fight response we associate with trauma and associated with survival. The limbic brain, as this regulatory center, is also responsible for the dopamine responses of pleasure that we associate with being stuck in the addiction cycle. And we all know that if you're taking a chemical that depletes dopamine or increases it so much that it depletes it, we're in deep weeds. I mean, you can't. How are you going to talk about your feelings in 30 days when you don't have any feelings?
Yeah, and meth is the worst one for that, by the way.
Gosh.
It depletes it for up to a year and a half.
Most important to recognize for this discussion, the limbic brain does not operate on the same rational sense of time. So we're talking about the one day at a time philosophy. That we know as human beings. Quite literally, the limbic brain has no clock. Rational time management is a function of the cerebral cortex. When trauma goes unprocessed, it stays stuck in the limbic brain, which essentially keeps it stuck in the time that it happened. Once again, a trauma survivor's felt sense of today might chronologically be many years in the past. Thus, adopting one day at a time, living becomes easier said than done. So, if you're struggling with one day at a time, there may be a good reason for that. You may be a person who's experienced trauma in your life, and you're not able to. It's because that's a question people have. Well, why can't I just quit one day? I mean, everybody's telling me just one day, and I can't even get past an hour. Why is that? Well, it may not be because you're making excuses. It may be because you can't. Your brain has not processed the trauma. You're not able to do that. So to tell somebody, well, you just need to live one day at a time, and if you're not, it's because you're not serious, it can be really misguiding. And they may be as serious as clockwork. 12-step traditionalists, she goes on to say, 12-step traditionalists might argue that adopting another slogan, such as fake it till you make it, offers the solution for getting a person to shift into a one day at a time mindset, and that the person needs just to keep coming back to support the to the support of meetings in order for it to click. While I'm not opposed to the logic in either of these slogans, the conventional 12-step wisdom is not sufficient, especially when we are working with survivors of trauma. It is not enough just to barrage newly sober people with slogans and platitudes, either in treatment or in meetings. As professionals, our charge is to teach clients action-oriented skills for learning to be in the present moment without having to self-medicate or react to stress in an unhealthy manner. From a trauma-informed perspective, skills that are action-oriented and not just cognitive or verbal are optimal at working with the limbic brain. By learning, adopting, and then practicing such skills with greater consistency, living one day at a time becomes more possible. So what I get from that is that this one day at a time thing can be. We got to be careful. I think it's good to show somebody that we need to live in the moment, especially like Jay was saying, in early recovery. I think that's a good thing, but I think we need to be careful as people that are sponsors and people that are working with others, that we recognize that if they're not capable of doing that, there may be something going on that has nothing to do with their unwillingness. Mm-hmm. After studying this a little bit last night, it made me reflect on somebody that you guys, even Nathan and I know, there may be something going on here that is extremely complicated and extremely deep. And if there's untreated trauma, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not qualified to treat that.
No.
I don't have that ability. I can't sit down and do step work with somebody and just say pray and accept God into your life and
all will be well.
And all will be well. Right. I don't have those tools.
It's about as shaming as you can get.
Yeah.
It really is.
May I interject for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I had a friend last night that was in big trouble. In fact, she was suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a big heart, so I wanted to help in any way I possibly could.
Sure.
I'm not educated in helping anybody, but just to be a friend, I wanted to help.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew some steps, get to her, start talking with her, change her mindset a bit. So I took her to go get some food. And she started to get a little relaxed a little bit, and I wasn't comfortable leaving her alone. So I tried to get a friend of mine to talk with her, and that just wasn't happening.
Mm.
And apparently I'm like the one person she trusts.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I don't feel good. She's been living in her van for over a year. And I said, okay, I don't want to keep you out on the street tonight. Why don't you come home with me? So I had her come home with me, and she stayed the night. She was feeling better this morning. I don't think she was suicidal today.
But last night you were concerned that if you left her alone, she may
do something harsh.
irreversible. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And
I get that.
So today I'm kind of wondering where she's at, what she's doing. Hopefully she's trying to do something to get into an inpatient. But I was very concerned for her. And that's where my lack of education comes in.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have known how I could have helped her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, bless your heart, man. Bless your heart. Now, there are those that are listening to what you just said, and they're getting all riled up, Well, you can't, you're doing recovery. You can't bring a female home with you. And blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Okay, I get that too. But what I'm hearing you say is that you felt like perhaps God was, you were short-stopping something that could have been a permanent thing you can't reverse.
And I tried to get another female involved, and it just was not happening.
Yeah. So you did what you could do.
Right.
And well, bless you for that, man. And you may very well just saved her life, just in that one act.
Who knows?
Who knows? But those things will come. You'll learn certain things. But shoot, I've been doing this thing. I've been in the room, so to speak, for 28 years, and I still don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
just try to get out of God's way,
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I got you.
So I think it is both. I again, it's like when we talked about are we recovering or are we recovered? I think if you've had a spiritual awakening as a result of steps that you've worked, then you've recovered. But are you in a process of recovering from a sin nature, from self-centeredness, from all that? Yeah. So they coexist. They do. They both do. And so, I think it is wise to say to somebody that's new, okay, let's just look at today. But we need to understand that if they're not capable of doing that, there may be something going on. And I really appreciate Jamie's article. Before we go into this next thing, I put this together. Now, a piece of this I got from somebody else, but the majority of it I just felt like God was writing this because I'm not this smart. I'm just not. And this kind of came out. You alluded to Eve, Matthew chapter 6:34. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will take care of itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. That is not a statement that says don't make plans for the future. That's not what it's saying. Okay, and this is what I put down. The phrase here is do not worry. That doesn't tell us not to make plans for tomorrow, but in our preparing for the future, we leave the results in the hands of God. We don't worry about the outcome. If I say to myself, I can't make a commitment to be done drinking or using for good and for all, because that may set myself up for a relapse, have I not injected worry of tomorrow into that very statement? But if, on the other hand, I make the commitment to be done for good and for all by the power of God, enabling me to do for me what I cannot do for myself, then I am trusting God, and therefore there is no need to worry about what tomorrow brings.
Yes.
Once I give my yesterdays, todays, and forevers to God, I release the outcome to Him. He is in control. The only reason things go sideways is either I have attempted to take back what I have turned over to Him, or I have thwarted the perception of what good and bad is. Yes, I must die to myself daily. This is not to suggest that we only live for today without plans, goals, and dreams for tomorrow. People that don't have a vision for the future tend to wither up and die. We have all watched people that have no vision. They perish. It's not suggesting that we don't make a commitment to never drink or use again. It's saying what we are to do, not what we are not to do. We are to die to our own selfish and self-centered agendas and be about doing God's work. That is a daily commitment. We cannot be propelled by yesterday's commitments for today. However, that isn't to say we stop making commitments for tomorrow. Part of the healthy daily walk of anyone who has recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body includes participating in and making plans for the days that have not yet arrived. It isn't for the assurance of tomorrow's success or even tomorrow's sobriety, but for the health and well-being of right now. The question that needs to be addressed today is, how does a person die to self? The first step is action. Something that we must do. Dying to self is a conscious choice that we must make. Nobody can make it for us. It is the act of surrendering our lives completely to God. Many may not know how to do this until a spiritual awakening has occurred as a result of applying and implementing the 12 steps. You cannot have a spiritual awakening as a result of steps you haven't worked. Kind of a no-brainer. It is no wonder why so many recovering support meeting attenders never learn to be dead to self and alive in God. They haven't completed the process that teaches them how to do that very thing. Our life with God as our director is not for an hour or two on Sunday or at our respective 12-step meetings, but literally 24/7. It is critical to make the choice to die to self each and every day with the attitude that when it comes to drinking alcohol or ingesting narcotics for the alcohol or addict, we are done for good and for all. Anything less than that is a half measure, a reservation, a permit issued to ourselves stating we will drink or use again. Dying to myself? Yes. I do it the moment I wake up in the morning, as I first open my eyes to a new day. Before I do anything, I take a moment to thank God for a day that was not promised to me, and make the conscious choice to completely surrender my life to Him that day and tomorrow. I literally tell God to take my life and use it for His glory, not just for today, but for every day I draw breath, to use me as an instrument of blessing. When we turn our will and our lives over to the care of God, we not only ask Him into our heart and life by faith, but we give our very lives to Him. In dying to self each day, we are reaffirming that our life doesn't belong to us any longer. It is His for good and for all. I believe this is the daily reprieve the Big Book talks about that is based on our spiritual condition. That condition being dead to self and alive in God forever.
Yep.
I like that.
I have a thought. See it, and I know that I think the key word is footwork, because I notice a lot of people that are new to the program that are kind of cloudy headed, and it's all kind of baffling, and they're taking it a moment at a time, a day at a time, and then they hear stuff like, well, just let it all go to God. But it still takes footwork. It still takes doing the uncomfortable stuff. I mean, you have guys in meetings that have been there 3 months talking about, I'm so miserable, I can't, I'm going, have you worked the steps? Even though God's got us, we still got to do uncomfortable stuff, kick some rear end, and drive, and jump in the steps and do things to make it happen, because I think that's part of, it's kind of a catch-22. When I do that stuff, I get the daily reprieve. When I don't do that stuff, I don't get the daily reprieve, and so it's pretty much on me. I can't just say I'm here and mean it with all my heart.
Lord.
I gotta back it up with footwork,
And I said let's bookmark that statement, because you're right. Where are our feet taking us? What you can watch yourself, look at yourself in the mirror and say, where are my feet going? And our support meetings are filled with people today that think if their feet just take them to the meeting and their ears listen to some platitudes and some nice sayings, that they'll be fine. And for the person that just needs to grow up, they are fine. But for the real deal, the guy that can't put the plug in the jug, the gal that can't just not take a drink in between meetings, that's not going to work.
Yeah, for the sick turds like me, I get it.
Is he a sick turd, Jay?
He can be.
All right, so special thanks to Jamie Marich, Dr. Jamie Marich, for that article. Okay, so the fifth email that we receive after the show is published, which if you're listening to it, obviously it is. And by the way, that email address is take12radio@comcast.net. TAKE12 radio@comcast.net. Make sure that you include all of your contact information, your mailing address, your phone number, etc. Is going to receive Jamie's DVD on mindfulness and this dance thing, and you can do it at home. You can just follow along and do it at home. It's very therapeutic. It really, really is.
I seen Jay over there with his smartphone. I think he got 5 emails right there. I think he cheated. I think he cheated.
And then we'll sneak up at his house one morning, and he'll be dancing in the
That's right. Frolicking.
I highly doubt that. Highly doubt it.
But I'm telling you, go to Jamie's website and check out some of these videos. It's amazing. There is something to be said. Now I know we got Christians out there listening that are going, oh, Eastern religion and all. Well, first of all, we westernized Christianity. Christianity came from the East.
Right.
So, kind of don't get so excited. But there are elements of other things that God has given us. Just because people mess them up doesn't mean that they're a bad deal. There's a lot of truth to, like, for instance, sound. The tones that our body is receptive to, in tune with the planet. We were created, if you believe that, we were created from the dirt of the earth. God created us. So our body responds well to certain tones. That's the whole idea behind acupuncture and that kind of thing. That stuff works.
Oh, man.
So some really good stuff. All right, switching gears. Check this out, you guys. We talked about, I'm gonna save the other one for last. We talked about gravel. There's a new drug out. The gravel drug. The new gravel drug has been popping up in parts of the country this year. Police departments across the nation are beginning to report cases of this dangerous gravel drug. The first reports have come from the southern states. The composition of the drug gravel is varied based on these reports. What is gravel? The new illicit substance gets its name gravel from its appearance. Reports of the chemical makeup of the substance include the compound alpha pyroid, a synthetic stimulant designed in the 60s that affects the cardiovascular and central nervous system. Many of the reports state that additional chemicals and drugs have been added. Some of the additives include bath salts, Klonopin, and methamphetamine. Meth goes with everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, heck yeah. There are even reports of rat poison and ammonia nitrate, a highly flammable substance found in fertilizer. What are the effects of gravel?
Gravel?
Gravel.
V?
Yeah, Gravel.
Okay.
Yeah. What are the effects? The new drug is reported to be highly addictive, requiring only a couple of months use to become chemically dependent. It is reported that users receive an intense high by snorting, smoking, or injecting. Extreme paranoia, suicidal thoughts, high blood pressure, and skin lesions. Sounds like the meth epidemic, doesn't it? Are few of the dangerous effects from using the new drug. Another effect being reported is in conjunction with its use is the inability to feel pain. Can't feel pain. Ooh. Boy, that's tough. One of the things that stopped me in my tracks in the middle of my active meth addiction was pain.
Oh, man. Right. Pain's a good teacher, my friend.
So if it's gone,
Ooh,
wow.
Man, that's kind of a scary thought.
Gravel in the ER, an emergency room physician at Bristol Regional Medical Center, reported dealing with gravel patients as very, very, very dangerous. One of the most dangerous things I've seen in the 15 years of ER medicine I've been doing. Probably the most dangerous drug I've ever seen, said Dr. Merritt. Bristol, Tennessee was one of the first areas of the country to report the outbreak of gravel. What's next? Well, I'll tell you what's next. You ready? You ready for this? Being promoted by the alcohol industry, encouraged and already approved.
What?
Is a drug called Palcohol. Palcohol. Alcohol is your friend. Alcohol is your pal. Thus, Palcohol. Palcohol, the world's sneakiest and most effective way to get drunk. This week, the U.S. Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau approved the powdered booze product, and its makers hopes to unleash it on the suspecting public this fall. Palcohol advertised the powder as the solution to many of the modern drinkers' most pressing problems. And here are some of their problems. Take, for instance, the overpriced drinks at stadium events. Introducing Palcohol. What's worse than going to a concert, sporting event, etc., and having to pay $10, $15, $20 for a mixed drink with tax and tip? Are you kidding me? Take Palcohol into the venue and enjoy a mixed drink for a fraction of the cost. This is some of the advertising that's going on. Palcohol also makes it for a very easy way to get hammered over breakfast without anyone noticing. Just sprinkle it right into your pancakes.
Now, that's the ad? Easy to get hammered without anybody noticing?
Yes.
That's the actual slogan.
That is the slogan. Wow. That's the slogan. And they even say, be careful not to sprinkle it on your food if it's hot, because that will dissipate the effects of the alcohol. It'll go away. What? We've been talking about, and then it goes on. We've been talking about drinks so far, but we have found adding Palcohol to food is so much fun. Sprinkle Palcohol on almost any dish and give it an extra kick. Some of our favorites are the kamikazes in guacamole, rum on a barbecue sandwich, Cosmo on a salad, and vodka on eggs in the morning to start your day off right.
Evil.
Experiment. Palcohol is great on so many foods. Remember, you have to add Palcohol after a dish is cooked, as the alcohol will burn off if you cook it with it, and that defeats the whole purpose, ladies and gentlemen. So those who'd rather mainline booze directly into their bloodstream are also in luck. Palcohol can be snorted.
Wow. So, no way.
Yeah. And so if it can be snorted, guess what else it can be done?
Oh,
you can inject
Lord.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, shall we? Snorting Palcohol. Yes, you can snort it, friends. And you get drunk almost instantly because the alcohol will be absorbed so quickly in your nose, it will mess you up. Use Palcohol responsibly.
Dude, there's going to be some deaths over that crap.
Now listen to this statement. What we can say now is that we hope the product will be used in a responsible and legal manner. Being in compliance with all federal and state laws is very important to use. Palcohol will only be sold through establishments that are licensed to sell liquor.
Unreal.
Wow.
I am shocked.
What is going on?
Wow.
You said it yesterday on the phone when we were talking about the school system and kids and school shootings.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you told me?
Which one?
About the devil?
Yeah.
Satan is alive and well.
He's kicking some rear,
Yeah. And I'm telling, and whether you want to call him the devil, depending on who's listening, or the enemy of your soul, or your addict, or whatever you want to, the truth of the matter is there is good, there is evil, and evil is flourishing. Now the good news is we have a God that's bigger than all that.
Yep.
It doesn't mean it's something we can just blow off and ignore. Alcohol, my friends, alcohol, because alcohol is your pal.
You know, Monty, when you first told me yesterday what the topic was going to be today, and you mentioned gravel and that that the Food and Drug Administration or whatever it was promoting it, I thought it was gravel, which would have been bad enough, but this is worse, in my opinion.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, this is because it's so, well, for those who don't think that they have a problem. Yeah, and even those that are sitting in the rooms that haven't, been convinced of the problem, just the allure of it, it's just so rotten.
There's some new demons in town.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Yeah,
Wow.
Jay, you're right. And I thought the whole purpose for keeping alcohol out of the stadiums was to put a damper on the inappropriate behavior due to the alcohol in large crowds. It wasn't just because there was glass bottles involved. You can't bring alcohol into those events, or the ones that do serve alcohol, like at football games. The last quarter, they stopped serving. There's a reason for that. But now we're encouraging it.
It all comes down to morals.
Yeah, and you say that all the time. Yeah.
You can think about what's wrong in this. With this society, it all comes down to morals,
And I'll tell you what is so disturbing is that when I read the post about this, and then I did the investigation and looked into articles and so forth, the original posts that I read, they were making light of it. They were these are people that are supposed to be in recovery. I cannot believe it. Also amazes me the amount of people that are supposedly in recovery from narcotic abuse who are for the legalization of certain drugs. I don't get it. What, are you a moron? What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
I am for the decriminalization of certain behaviors because they need to be treated. They don't need to be incarcerated. That costs us way more money than treatment does. I understand that, but if you want to quote Tim Harrington, who, by the way, he and I on the political spectrum are on opposite sides of the fence. I'm a conservative; he is a liberal, but we are on the same page. To quote him, to interject another mood, mind-altering substance into the legal, the category of legal is irresponsible and insane.
Where did you find how it's going to be promoted? Where did you find? I mean, was that a reliable source?
Yes, addiction recovery, ebulletin.org, and it's kind of like the Fix. The Fix is that online newspaper about recovery and that kind of thing. Addiction recovery, ebulletin.org. You can find out information about that.
Well, I wonder if it'll be intercepted and they might change their tactics.
Sure
I sure hope so too.
Could you imagine?
Another thing that I was thinking is that our culture would allow some sort of advertising like that. That's probably scarier than the advertising itself, because it means that there is such lacks of morals, there's just an acceptance of that culturally.
Well, can you imagine? I mean, I can think of it now. Jenny McCarthy sitting at a table, all cool with her girlfriends at a dance club, putting that out there, using the product and acting like it's totally normal, and pushing that opinion, and pretty soon it becomes acceptable.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty dang sick.
Yeah.
That is sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? You don't have to be somebody in recovery. You don't have to be somebody that's struggling with alcoholism or drug addiction or anything. Just common sense. Come on, people. Pull the needle out of your head.
That's brutal.
The needle out of your head?
Pull the needle out of your head or your neck. Pull it out of your neck.
Are we talking acupuncture here?
No. All right. So there we go. Interesting show. I'm sure we'll get some opinions about it. But we welcome your opinions. Take12radio at Comcast.net is the email address. And of course, some of you are now listening to this show on YouTube, and we appreciate that. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we appreciate it very, very much. Listen, our closing song is by a guy by the name Jerry Vandiver. I love this guy. Gracie, his wife, is the one that is really responsible for a lot of the reasons why Take 12 Radio is even existing. Mm-hmm. She's the one, you heard me tell the story before, I came home from a 12-step meeting, and I had this phone call from this gal who said, there's this other woman, her name's Mary Lynn B., who read one of your articles on the internet and was wondering if you'd ever thought about doing broadcasting, doing radio. And I'm like, and I'm from Nashville, and I'm an agent, and I'm like, what? And so I called her up, and we had this discussion, and one thing led to another. Take 12 Radio was born through the help of a guy named Tom Sumner, and on it went. And so Gracie is an amazing, talented musician, and her husband, Jerry, is amazing also. He's got several albums out there. This is a song called Bob and Wendy. It's a cute song, but it's also kind of serious. If you think that you want to keep up with the Joneses, or you think that Fred and Samantha down the street have got a better life than you because everything looks really good, you may want to take a gratitude check about where you are, because you may be being deceived. There's a lot of really good look-goods out there, and people are miserable. Check out the song. We're going to close with this. This is Jerry Vandiver, Bob and Wendy.
Bob and Wendy came out of a movie script, a picture-perfect suburban relationship. By all appearances, they seem to have a grip on love. Daily I love you's on the telephone. I miss you, honey, can't wait to get back home. Frequent public displays of affection. Two people were never more connected. It's a fairy tale dream with a happy ever after ending, and everyone secretly wishes they could be like Bob and Wendy. Bob and Wendy have a golden retriever, a son and daughter who are overachievers. Surround sound on their satellite receiver too. A minivan for Saturday soccer games. Both the kids are bringing home perfect grades. Deacons at the church where they were married. Fighting isn't their vocabulary. It's a fairy tale dream with a happy ever after ending, and everyone secretly wishes they could be like Bob and Wendy. If it's too good to be true, it is. Still, we were shocked by the news. Irreconcilable differences. Now Bob's got an apartment that's gated, a girlfriend and another one waiting. Wendy had her first date, but she's taking her time. She's playing tennis and just started jogging. Some guy's sending flowers to her office. Bob's going fishing with the boys in Ontario. No one could have made up this scenario. It's not a fairy tale dream with a happy ever after ending, but everyone secretly still wishes they could be like Bob and Wendy. Like Bob and Wendy.
Jerry Vandiver. You can visit his website, jerryvandiver.com. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man, along with Jay and Nate and Eve and me and Cecil. We're wishing God's perfect serenity for you.
So I learned to sing. I learned to dance. Every time they'd get to me.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
I am stronger than old memories.
Kitty, 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 kitty. Meow.